Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about transit Neptune Sextile or Trine. One's natal Chiron. Now, this transit could manifest in dreams, inspiration, idealism, sacrifice, fantasizing. This could be in harmony with physical and emotional wounds and suffering. I'm going to elaborate and expound on that. No, it's not a good time for dreaming about physical and emotional wounds or suffering. But if you have, if you're going through any trauma, whether it could be on a physical or emotional nature, psychological nature, this is the time where you may be more inspired to do something about it. People that are, people that you know that are spiritual, uh, that are prominent. It could be in some religious congregation. It could be a very spiritual person. These people could be beneficial to your healing process at this time. It could be a time where relaxing meditation could also be auspicious for dealing with any of these issues. The thing is, if you have your natal Chiron, say, in the first or sixth house, it can increase the propensity for being of a more physical nature because, of course, the first house is associated with the physical body. Sixth house corresponds with health, physical health related issues. And it's also a time where it's a good time for having that balance. Could be sacrificing for others, whether it's your time or resources, whatever it might be, in dealing with your own physical and emotional wounds and suffering at this time if you are going through any. Now, the thing is, if you have your natal Chiron, say, it's in Sagittarius, it could be physical related issues associated with the hips, the thighs, the sciatic nerve, or liver, and especially if it falls in the first or sixth house in your chart on a more emotional nature. It could be dealing with something, due to philosophical issues or dealing with, religious congregation that might be fallacious, and maybe you were duped into giving money into a false congregation that was associated with a fallacious or false religion, as some examples for the Chiron being in Sagittarius. But at this time as well, this is also a time where you feel at this time Neptune is about fantasizing, you might, Chiron is about how we can help and heal others. So if there's any fantasy you have, the dream, helping other people, healing other people's wounds and suffering, this could be that time where you might have a better chance of making it come to reality. Now, the thing about this is, let's say, for example, the natal Chiron is an Aquarius and or the 11th house in your chart. It might be something where you might want to help others more, on a more global or like an environmental matter, more collectively helping groups as opposed to individuals. And it can be a time where you have more idealism and inspiration as far as doing that at this time, more so than you ordinarily would. And the thing about this is also, you're talking about a very positive aspect by transit from Neptune, which I would say Neptune can have a connection with healing, and also, Chiron could be about healing as well. It's healing and helping others, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to heal our own wounds as well. Once we understand the full nature of why we are suffering, and in connection with the Chiron placement. Now, again, going back to Chiron having a connection with physical suffering, if there is some kind of if you've had any issues associated with your Chiron placement, physical related issues in general, it can be a time where you have more of that inspiration to actually do something about it. If you've been procrastinating or hesitating on those matters, and there's been some physical related issue that may be serious, but for whatever reason you've blown it off or what have you, This is the time where you might have more inspiration in actually doing something about it. If you have your natal Chiron in Taurus as an example, it could be some physical related issue with the throat, the neck, the thyroid, the esophagus, as some examples. And this is that time, again, the fact that Neptune is connected with idealism, it may be a time where if you are aware of the physical related problems, it could be a time where you feel you could at least work through them better, and being more idealistic regarding them, being able to understand and emphasize what you can do in spite of those difficulties, in contrast to what can't be done because of that. So, it's also a time where if you're dealing with any depleted self-esteem or self-worth, this is the time where you may be more inspired to do something about those issues. At this point in time, you have your natal Chiron in the first house. Depleted self-esteem may be attributed. It could be to your physical body to some degree, your appearance, and you might not feel. It doesn't mean, just because someone has Chiron in the first house doesn't mean that they're grotesque or ugly, or they have something wrong with them physically. In a lot of instances, it could mean that there is just some certain insecurity regarding the physical appearance in the person. They never really feel that he or she has that right, that flawless look that he or she wants to have. And it's a time to understand, and if you're going through suffering through that as an example, you'll have more inspiration to do something about it, and it could help. What could be beneficial could be doing something in connection again with spirituality or through meditation, at this point in time. And even the metaphysical, which includes astrology, and obviously, anyone that's watching this video, or the majority of people seeing this video, are into astrology. And a lot of times, you could look, have your chart evaluated and understand, more, about your Chiron, placement, and why you might be going, through your suffering that's in connection with it. So, and also too, this is about a time as well where you have more of the opportunity to sacrifice for others in terms of helping and healing. And now, let's say again, going back to the natal Chiron is an Aquarius and or the 11th house. It could be someone could be a friend or what have you, that might feel ostracized by society or condemned by groups or clubs or organizations, and it's a time where you may be able to help them understand why this feeling is such, and encourage the person maybe to join the groups that he or she might feel more comfortable in, as an example. And it's also a time as well. I mean, you're talking about Chiron is connected with ineptitude, and it could be some cases it may be where we are actually ineptent, or it can be also a where we feel ineptent. If the natal Chiron is in Gemini and or the third house in the chart, it could be being able to articulate things, communicate, assimilate information. It might be matters connected with manual dexterity and use of the hands, and it may be a time where you may be more inspired to do something about that more so than usual. And Chiron is also about weakness, which is really tied in to where you feel inept at. So it would apply with your as far as your weakness may go. At this time, if you have your natal Chiron in the zodiac sign Cancer and or the fourth house in your chart, that weakness may have something to do with having some kind of stability with your family, and being or just some general issues, whether there's animosity that exists with family members, or some kind of dissension, or it's just simply not having the family that you truly wanted, what you thought would be an ideal family situation. So anyway, the next thing is, well, when you look at this trans as well, I mean, another way this could manifest, it could be where inspiration, which is Neptune, it could be a positive time for having inspiration, which is Neptune, to deal with the deepest pain, which is Chiron. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back, but anyway. Now let's say, for example, if like the placement I have of the natal Chiron is in Aries in the 12th house as an example, there may be some inability to confront, which is Aries, hidden adversaries, which is the 12th house, and it might be, it's a time where you might be more apt to be more inspired to deal with that issue. Now, another way this transit could be expressed, it could be where dreams, which is Neptune, to handle depleted self-esteem, which is Chiron, and making those dreams come to reality. If the natal Chiron is in Taurus in the 5th house, as an example, it could be the lack of stability, which is Taurus, and it can be in your love life this time, which is the 5th house. Also, to Neptune-related people, and when I say Neptune-related people, I'm talking about people that, of course, are associated with the planet Neptune. Whether it could be somebody in a Neptune profession, such as chemistry or photography or oceanography or the metaphysical, which includes astrology, or people in general associated with the Neptune, like the less fortunate. Those people may be more in harmony and agreement at this time with how you're helping and healing others, which is Chiron. Now, let's say, for example, if the natal Chiron is in Pisces in the 8th house, it could be helping people that have felt victimized, which is Pisces. It could be due to coercion and bullying, which is the 8th house. And it's also a time where it could be very auspicious to escape, which is Neptune, to deal with physical and emotional wounds and suffering, which is Chiron. Let's say, for example, if natal Chiron is in Sagittarius in the 4th house, it could be philosophical issues or beliefs, just Sagittarius with the family, and there may be discord with them because of that. And the family, of course, is associated with the 4th house. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.